Guys, welcome to another episode of The Pulse. Get a chance to talk to people who are doing big things, making a difference, touring, making people laugh, and maybe, I don't know if we can say you're involved in the controversy, peripherally involved in the fact that everybody in comedy is involved in controversy. A legend of comedy, Don D.C. Curry. How are you, sir?
I'm fine with the exception of you calling me a legend. Legends usually have about 6 months to live.
Well, I mean, what can I say? Trailblazer?
Whatever you call me, I'm sure I've been called worse, so it's all good.
I was reading about your background. We do that, little research before talking to people. How did you get started in comedy? You got an interesting background.
I had a brief minor league baseball career. So when we were on the road, I would find a little comedy club wherever we were, and I would go in, and usually it would be an off night, like open mic night. And I just enjoyed watching the comics, particularly those that were not professionals. And I enjoyed watching, kind of got to be a critic. And when I got released from playing baseball, I went into a club one night and they were out of participants. And so I looked around and nobody knows me. I can't embarrass myself. And I went up and that was 11,016 shows ago.
So you're there as a baseball player in the crowd, hanging out, and they're like, we need some more comics. And you say, oh, all right, I got this. Like, you have to understand, people who would do that are wired a little bit different. So I just jump on stage.
I went up and it was fun to me because I didn't take myself seriously. I watched beginning comics, be all torn up about how the show went, but I was just having fun, man.
Now, I read, this is about the struggle is real, right? This is when I'm testing whether or not all the stuff you read and research is true. So you got a gig, you went out there and ended up owing them money on the bar tab after your performances.
That's exactly true, man. One of my first gigs, I was at a comedy club. I was opening for Paul Mooney.
Okay.
Who became one of my confidants, and we did 14 shows that week. I was supposed to get $70.
For all 14 shows?
Yes, sir. $5 a show. Hey, Bill, and I was excited too. And at the end of the week, they handed me a bill for the liquor I had consumed.
Wait.
Which was more than $70.
How does that conversation go down?
Let me be friendly to your viewers and say, I still owe them that money.
All right. No, that's good. I think all of our viewers will respect that answer.
Yeah, now you use your imagination on what I actually said, but that was the gist of it.
You hear these types of stories. We had some of the guys from New Edition on, and they were talking about going on tour and playing these packed houses and all of these things, and then the tour bus after the tour dropped them back off in the projects. I mean, it's funny now because they've been able to achieve and come back from that. Is that one aspect of this business and the struggle, particularly for African-American entertainers, that people just didn't understand?
I've never really, to be honest with you, considered it a struggle. In the words of my grandfather, you gotta enjoy the struggle. You gotta enjoy the journey. And I've never been one to just be mad. I've always thought it was kind of just a life gift to be able to do it, even though, I wasn't making substantial money. Any money I got in the beginning, I thought was just a blessing, And I kept working. When younger comics, even today, ask me when should they leave their jobs? And my answer is, if you have to ask that,
Right.
it
Right.
ain't time. I will say this, at the risk of being taken as an angry old man, which I'm not, I will say I think the new wave of social media has taken away some of the experiences that I think would make the young comics better presenters of their commentary, I guess is a way to say it.
Why is that a problem?
I think they don't gain the road experience that's necessary, driving from city to city and talking to the variety of people that you will ultimately come in contact with. So you can go on social media and you can do a skit or what have you 100 times and pick the best one. But nothing replaces, to me, the actual experience of going up in front of people on a regular basis that you do not know, and sometimes in areas that you have never been. So it forces you, for one, to develop quote unquote universal material.
Coming up, one of his fellow comedians has recently made some lofty viral claims.
To say you read 3,000 books a year is kind of ridiculous. That's 9 books a day.
So another true story, you got booed off the stage because you only had one set prepared and did it twice because you needed that money.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't get booed off stage. They tried, but I refused to leave. So when this club called me and they said they wanted to do 2 shows, you know, I jumped on it. You know, it was the first night I ever made $1,000. But I didn't know that it was going to be 2 shows to the same people. I thought they would put the people out. At that time, I mean, I only had 20 minutes of material. And so when I went to the dressing room after the first show, which was good, but the second show, I came out of the dressing room and I started recognizing people that I had seen at the first show, and I was like, uh-oh. So I went up and I said, well, I'll just go up here and do everything backwards. And it was a disaster, man. But I refused to leave. I stayed up there 20 minutes. I was like, I'm not going nowhere.
I gotta get that second check.
Yeah, get that second check. And
obviously, you've got, you know, several years, decades of success in comedy from those early stories. And you've got some characters. I was, you know, joking about Uncle Elroy when we were talking before. There's people who seem to fall into 2 categories, particularly when I'm talking to actors and comedians. There's either people who are just like, oh, I'm all in on Uncle Elroy. Uncle Elroy got me paid. And then there's others who are like, oh, can I live? Why you keep calling me this one character? Which one are you?
I appreciate the opportunity to have been that. I'm not under any kind of fake belief that I'm a bona fide actor. I enjoyed the role. Ice Cube put me on. I enjoyed it. But no, mention of the character does not upset me. You know, I used to tour with, you know, I'm not getting messy, Bill, but I used to tour with, sometimes with Ricky Smiley. And he would get very upset when people referred to him as one of his comedic characters, Little Darryl.
Really?
And I mean, you know, if that's how they know you, that's how they know you, bro.
I think it's better that people know you, right? Like, regardless of why, they know you for something positive.
Particularly when you're a stand-up, because you have a chance on a nightly basis to defend yourself or explain yourself, what happened.
So I'm going to use that as the segue into what we were talking about earlier. You were in the movie with Katt Williams. And I don't know, do you guys have a relationship outside of the movie?
Yeah, I know Katt.
So y'all are cool.
Yeah.
You must be cool because you're the one comedian on earth who he didn't mention, at least in a negative way, in that whole viral expression. I'm going to pause for a second because the internet is strategically getting challenged again. All right, I paused for a second because I was trying to see if Katt pulled the plug on your internet.
I was going to say that's Katt probably.
So you saw it, you and 30 some odd million other people saw Katt Williams do this interview on the Shannon Sharp podcast where he went after pretty much everybody. What was your reaction?
I think some of it was true. I think all of it was entertaining. And I think some of it is sad. Comics, we've always had beef, some of us, with each other, but never publicly, We're all in the same game, so to speak, as comics. You want to go to a broader realm as entertainers. So that part kind of saddened me. Some of the criticisms, personality-wise, that he stated are true. Some of his testimony, I think, was ridiculous. To say you read 3,000 books a year is kind of ridiculous. That's 9 books a day. Some of the stuff he said, some of the people I've talked to have really taken offense to it. I've never taken myself that seriously, man. But there is a line that can be crossed where it becomes personal. And I think in some cases, he did that. Was it a marketing ingenious move? Well, you mentioned 30-something million. I saw yesterday it was up to 50 million hits.
Next, why DC Curry thinks people should get into entertainment for the right reasons.
I never got into stand-up with the mindset I want to be rich or famous, man. I thought I had something significant to say in a humorous way.
I don't know Katt Williams. I've never interviewed Katt Williams. I'm pretty sure I don't want to be on his bad side after seeing all that. So Katt, it's all love. You're welcome on the Pulse anytime you want to come. But some of that stuff you looked at and you went, wow, like if this was about marketing, you start going into essentially accusing people of crimes and throwing that kind of stuff out there. That part was when you watch it and kind of cringe. But as you said, 50 million views made a whole bunch of money for both him and Shannon Sharp. So in the business, does that justify the means?
I never got into stand-up with the mindset I want to be rich or famous, man. I thought I had something significant to say in a humorous way. And that's always been my approach. But I will not just say anything just for publicity or what have you. And if you've seen my shows, you're probably saying, well, I can't imagine what you will not say. But anyway.
That's fair. You said some people took that very personally. Would you have taken that stuff personally?
I doubt it. No.
Okay, so you just let it go.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would have a rebuttal, and he may or may not like my rebuttal, but that's the way cookie crumbles, brother.
Cedric the Entertainer was on with us. Michael Blackson was on with us, and they did a lot of talking about that kind of comedy fraternity. Does that fraternity kind of exist where, for the most part, you guys are kind of pulling for each other because of similar experiences, or is there a lot of this, yo, you stole my joke?
A lot of comics now have come out and said that they have stolen. I've never knowingly, use anybody else's joke. But now there is some material that's stock. Usually it's the new guys who are not familiar with the game yet using the older guys' stuff. However, I have seen blatant, outright joke thievery. It has not affected me that much personally because I generally do current events. So I keep it moving. So sure, I've had some of my material stolen, you know, but the stuff that I was doing about OJ 15 years ago, you know, I could care less about you stealing that.
Coming up, if you think about it, his philosophy on comedy, it's really simple but effective.
My overall view is I examine life as I see it from where I stand.
Where do you stand on interviews like that, DC, where people...
Well, Katt, my friend.
Yeah.
Katt, my friend. Steve Harvey, my friend.
My podcast is This Race. It's basically, and our motto is no hate, but no fear. And basically it's a discussion about my people and how the news and current events affect us. So, of course, I talked about the Katt Williams incident, and then I brought on a person that totally disagrees with him, a former employee of his. And, oh man, I got some very hostile rebuttals, you know, for bringing her on. Now, I wasn't claiming sides either way, but she clearly had some firsthand knowledge. My critics are implying that I should not have allowed her a platform to speak her piece. And I just totally disagree with that.
You will be in our area in February, Helium Comedy Club, doing multiple shows per day. I'm assuming different material, you know, those different shows. Tell us what to expect from your tour.
My overall view is I examine life as I see it from where I stand. I like to refer to my shows as town meetings, man. So you could ask, where do you stand as what? Well, I'm a lot of things, you know. I'm Black, obviously. I'm a man, obviously. I'm an American, you know. I'm a human being, so I'm a lot of things. So it's not a biased show in a degrading way, but it is my opinion from where I stand as a combination of all those different adjectives.
We end, similar to the theme of your podcast, the theme of ours is use your voice for good. So we end every episode with the concept of use your voice for good, regardless of who we're talking to. What does that phrase mean to you?
I'm an entertainer. I guess that's the ultimate goal, but I do have my limits, my parameters, and I think if you can be patient through some of my commentary, I think in the end, when I bring it all together, I think that some people have a change of heart, you know.
I appreciate you spending this much time with us.
Thank you, man. And to America, I'm proud of how far we've come, and I'm ashamed of how far we have to go.
That was just fun to me. He's another one of those comedy legends. He didn't like the term, but I will say it, who's just having fun, trying to make a difference, and shares a lot of his commentary to empower and to make you laugh. That's what we try to do, and I respect him for doing it. Appreciate you watching. And I leave you today, as I always do, reminding you that whenever you can, use your voice for good, and have a good one.